Good morning. Good morning. We are here for another stronger and better session with my two mothers. I'm trying to get them in the picture here. Y'all gonna have to come in. Y'all can't be scared of me. So y'all say, oh, wait a minute. I think it's my chair. Something going on. But just want to say good morning to everybody and glad to have you here with us today. Please let us know that you're here. Paula is saying good morning. Good morning, Paula. Glad to have you here with us. I'm trying to do a watch party myself, so y'all make sure that you're doing a watch party, that you're sharing this with as many people as possible. We got Miss Jackie Massey saying hello. Good morning. Good morning. Glad to have you here with us on today. Please join in. Please, we're going to be talking about grief today. A deep subject, so please join in, and we want to hear from you on today. Good morning, Miss Valerie. You know I love you. Glad to see you this morning and glad to have you with us. Please let us know that you're here. As always, you'll see a link on the bottom of the screen to my YouTube page. We are on series 25, episodes 25 on today. So there's a lot of good material that you can go back and watch. And please make sure that you're doing whatever you can to stay stronger and better. My mom over here, phone is going off during a live show, but it's all good. So we got to make sure we get her in the picture. But like I said, glad to have everybody here with us on today. Glad to see everybody. Thank you, Paula. Paula is saying she's praying for you, Mom. Continue to pray for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. So bless y'all on today. We're going to be getting started in 2 seconds. I still see people coming in, so I just want to give people time to come on in and say hello to us before we get started. Like I said, we're here every Thursday at 11 a.m. Today we're going to be talking about grief. Mm-hmm. So please share this with your friends and family. Do a watch party and invite as many people as possible as we go ahead and talk about this subject. But please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel, select it below, and hit the subscribe button. And that way you'll be notified every time that we go live and every time things are happening. We have a lot of things coming up in the future that you want to be a part of that's going to help you become stronger and better. Good morning, Marissa. What's going on? Age, what's up, man? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Risty. Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. So we got Miss Georgia watching. Good to see you. Glad to have you. Glad to have you with us. So let's go ahead and get started because I don't want to prolong this. And as many of you know, my grandmother just passed. My mother's mother, and even throughout the country, we're seeing that a lot of deaths are happening as of not all corona related, but just in general. There's you see a lot of people dying from cancer, dying from just natural illnesses, and even I'm noticing a lot of young people are passing away, which is interesting. It's one of those times and seasons that we're in, and so I thought it would be a good subject to kind of talk about with concerning grief. And I know some years ago, Dr. Roberts, you always been my mom. And she and Freeman Roberts was very impactful in my kid's life. And especially my son with Freeman and all that kind of good stuff. But I wanted to start the conversation off because Freeman passed away some years ago. And just want to see, how did you deal with grief, and kind of how are you progressing in terms of that?
Okay. Grief is especially when it's a sudden thing. Like my husband was ill, but I didn't know he was ill. And when he was diagnosed with stomach cancer, it was October 6th, and he went to be with the Lord on November the 16th. Now, to me, that was dramatizing, up to the point where I went into like an isolation, and before then I was grieving my mom also because we were very close, and my mom passed 2005. I thought that I had gotten over it, but I was in denial. And at the same time, with two people, my husband and my mom, I preached my mom's eulogy. That was rough.
Yeah.
And then after that, then with my losing my best friend, and then I lost my bestie friend, which was Freeman. Who was Freeman? So that was a trying time for me. To the only way that I really got past it. Your family can come, you get the cards, you get the calls and everybody, but then 2 weeks after then, it's just like you're lonely. There's no one there but you and Jesus.
Yeah.
And the only way that I could get past that, I had to actually ask God to help me, because sometimes during times of grief, the enemy would come in and try to put fear in you of that person, of what's going on in your home. So how I got past that was I just asked the Lord, I need for you to just come and hug me, whatever. I got to get past this. I can't talk to anybody. I don't know how to handle this, because I had actually dealt that way before. So I actually had a supernatural visitation.
Wow.
That's how I actually got over it. I had a visitation from the Lord. And he told me that George had taken a trip with him and that I would see him again. And I kept the doors closed and everything. He said, go open the door. It's just furniture. And I opened the door and I just praised God. He said, it's just furniture. And he said, I would never leave you. I am going to take care of you. He said that. And he gave me the sweetest kiss I've never felt in my life. And I went to sleep. When I woke up, I had no fear. It seems like all the grief was gone. Not saying that I don't miss my husband, but I don't grieve. And I'm going to tell you what he said. He said, the Holy Spirit gave me this, and I wrote it down today again. It said, what he brought me through is where he's taken me to.
Yeah.
So what he brought me through, he's taken me to a place where I can actually minister to those who more in depth of those who are in grief and those who don't realize that they're lost. You can get lost in grief to the point where you're in such a deep down. We're gonna get to that in a minute. I'm going over. But this is how I got past it, and there's nobody but Jesus. So. God bless you.
Well, I want to say, because your situation was unique too, and I think it's important.
Yeah.
Because Freeman passed in the house.
Yeah, Freeman passed in the house, and that was also devastating because of the fact that after he passed it, I mean, I was trying to give mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I was trying to do everything that the medics do, and the pastoral counselor didn't realize that I was a pastoral counselor also, because I never told her. Yeah. And so. As Freeman was, the angels were there, and the Lord allowed me to actually go into the supernatural. This is another thing that happened. I was trying to give him and asking him, why y'all not doing anything? I speak out Cal and Gail, and told them to call us Bishop. I don't know what I call us Bishop, but I was just trying to give, and all of a sudden I heard shoo, shoo. And then I was in the supernatural, and the whirlwind was just like shoo, 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 all around him and all around him, and all of a sudden I saw shoo, just like that. Yeah. And he was gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was such a supernatural, and I'm looking around like I'm looking for Jesus. And then another thing, if we listen to the Holy Spirit, God prepared me the day before on a Sunday before you all came over after church, because I was in the basement and I decided to just do something because everything else was done. My daughter was there and everything. And so I decided to just go on the bike, and I'm just on the bike. And all of a sudden I saw this light blue two-tone casket. And I started to weep. And the Lord said, if I take him, will you still serve me?
Wow.
Yeah. And I started screaming, yes, Lord, I serve you, Lord. I serve you, Lord. I ran upstairs and I said, Freeman, what's your favorite color? He said, babe, you know my favorite color is blue. And I lost it. I ran back in the basement before I lost it. But devastating of having him in the home, that's why the Lord came to me to let me know to open the door because I kept that door closed. That was my prayer room. He was actually in my prayer room. Yeah. So the Lord let me know, okay, he's not in that room. He's gone. He's with me. And you're going to see him again. He's taking a trip. He's not dead. Yeah. He's taking a trip with me. And you're going to see him again. So, anybody who's had that experience of losing one and you're trying to hold on to things that's in that room, he's not there. He's gone. And he's with Jesus. Amen.
Yeah. Well, Ma, I know we just dealt with your mother passed, and we can kind of talk about that.
Yeah, but a little even before that, as you're talking about dealing with grief, my first, I guess, encounter was once when my grandmother passed on my dad's side. I was always close to both sides of the family, but as a child, she sent for me because my mom and dad had moved away from the home house. And so when I got there, she looked over and she saw it was me. And I had to stand there. Looked like, to me, it was a couple of hours with her. And she was just holding my hand and looking at me. And so, as a child, you don't really know what to do with that. But as I have gotten older, I still can feel my grandmother. It was like her love was so for me that she may have been praying over my life. Yeah. And then the second time I really dealt with death is when my two brothers died. One died in October of 95, and the other one died in January. Same thing at the end of the month. So they were 2 months apart, and those were the ones that were close to me. My brother was next to me, and then the other brother was next to him. And so, when they said my brother had gone to Vietnam, he was considered as a disabled veteran, but really he was active. He functioned. He was working for the post office, that kind of thing. But with his death, it was such a shocker to me that because my husband and I had been home in July, and he kind of wasn't in a good place. So he hid from us because he didn't want us to see him like that. And so he went to Arkansas away from my mom and my dad to a veteran hospital to heal himself. He was working at a veteran hospital in Memphis. But the night before, he called me, and I talked to him a long time, and he started talking to me about the Lord in his life, and that kind of thing. So it was so rewarding to hear that and to know where he was, as far as, Christ. Yeah. So I didn't have to go through all that. And then the next morning when my mom called, and because we play a lot, she called and we thought that she was, playing. And so, and then I heard her say, he's gone. And I said, who's gone? And then she told me that he actually died in front of her. But it didn't, it registered right away. I went into action because this is where some people are. If you're the strong person of the family and you feel like you got to hold all of them together. So what I went into action did, I just told my husband, I had three small kids, and I told my husband, I said, now, you're going to have to stay here because these kids need to go to school. And at that time, I had two sisters here. I said, so we would just go in to the funeral, and that kind of thing. And so he didn't say so too much because I just took charge. I just started telling everybody what. So we got on the plane and went home, and then I had some dealings that I had to get rid of. And I must say this too, because of the fact that it's with his I said relationships at that time.
Right.
I was dealing with that too, because I was just saying this didn't have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, when I got there, I had not cried. I had not done anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just went and took care of everything that needed to be taken care of. But when I got there, and one of my brothers had already taken care of everything, and didn't have to deal with nothing, no fuel, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He had already taken care of that. And so we came back home. And after that, I still had not grieved.
Yeah.
And my husband and I went to with Bishop Gonzalez to Florida to my husband had to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael was with us, and he got sick, and so I had to go out. But I heard a young man there speak before I left. He said, "We are good people, but we have made some bad choices." And when I heard him say that, my brother kicked in, and I started crying on Saturday night, and I didn't stop crying until Monday. I was crying all in church the next Sunday, but when we came home Monday, I was still crying until I had a dream about him Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to me, just like you were saying. He came. I still was trying to raise that boy out of the casket and say that, and I'm saying to God, why didn't you raise my brother, let him live so he could get his life back where he had it once before. And as he saw me still trying to, two of my other brothers were standing on the other side of the casket. I was on one side. And so he raised it. He came up out of that casket and to the top, like floating like an angel.
Yeah.
And he's a funny guy. So he was making jokes. And so he, like an angel over the casket, and he started laughing and said, "What is wrong with you all? Don't you know I'm with Jesus?" And that's the only thing that stopped. And sometimes we don't know how we grieve. And I still have my moments about those special people in my family. But this was happening. And then the second brother come right around 2 months later, and he called me the night before. He told me, of what he was doing. And it's like, because I had told him, I said, "Now you got to keep yourself together."
Yeah.
I said, because of the fact I knew what it would do with him, because the other brother, they close. And so sure enough, what I was telling him, I did not know what was about to happen to him too. And I'm saying to myself, what in the world is going on here? And so when he died, he talked to me, and he told me what he had told his 9-year-old son. He said, "I had a talk with my son like I've never had before." And I said, "That's so wonderful," and he started talking about me as his second mom. And he went on and on and on. And so then when that happened, I didn't know what to do. But that time I did grieve somewhat, because I had a better understanding of the Lord, preparing me even from the first one, that I had to get myself together. So grieving, even sisters and brothers can be tough and that kind of thing. And, as the line go on down with my dad, even down to my mom.
Yeah, that's okay.
Jesus. That's my mom and dad. It's just so different.
Yeah.
And even with my mom, talking to her every day. And, the visits she has had in her room. And talking to her every day, she talked to me about the entire family. She tells me everything, everything about them. And, I still have, and I'm sure I have them for a long time. I even have things in a book That's her book.
Mhm.
That she would tell me stuff that how Jesus would come in her room and all that kind of stuff. And so I began to write them down. I think it was in 2015
Mhm.
when she started talking to me really about it.
Mhm.
But I'm saying to that, even with that, I know where my mom is and that kind of thing. But some people grieve a lot at funerals and stuff like that because of the fact that they have not had a good relationship like we are talking about with the people who has gone on.
Mhm.
And that's why some people grieve more because of the fact that either they didn't call their mom or their dad or their children, and so when they're gone, they don't have an opportunity to correct those things.
Mhm.
And so, but if you have to really have a relationship with God to even get through that grief counseling,
Mhm.
you really need that. And, and sometimes just to talk it out,
Mhm.
because you don't know why.
Yeah.
You didn't, you weren't as close.
Mhm.
And you don't know why, even if you had, if it would have been good or bad.
Mhm.
And so these kind of things happen a lot with a lot of people. I've seen people almost get in the casket with their, and I've been saying, what is wrong? Why is it that they don't know that this person has gone, with the Lord?
Mhm.
And it's just so much, that we could say today to that people have gone through, but this is just one of those things, and I have my aunts. I mean, it's just these people were close to me,
Right.
and so it really been, and I've been able to kind of deal with it, and I pray that I will be able to even minister to my sisters and my brothers, because she was a special lady, and if you knew her and the way her funeral was, her weight, and you said, who was this lady? Everybody knew it. Everybody say the same thing. Hard worker, kids and that kind of thing. So it was just wonderful. It really was. It was wonderful. I mean, she had a home going.
All right. That's beautiful.
So Bonetta, she had a question. And she said, are there stages of grief, and would you recommend counseling?
Well, recommend counseling?
Yeah, she wants to know, are there stages of grief, and would you recommend counseling?
Yes, there are stages of grief. The first stage, of grief is whether it's job or whatever, is you kind of get lost in yourself or wondering what I could have done, or sometimes people grieve differently. The first stage I would say of grief would be just blaming yourself, just wondering why did this happen to me?
Yeah.
Why it couldn't happen to somebody else? Why you take my dog? Why you take my friend? Why you take my job? Why I lose my home? See, it's all kinds of grief.
Yeah.
But that's the first stage. That's something that you have to come to grips with, that this is not my fault.
Yeah. But sometimes even with that, baby, and you will find that I know a lot of people who began to snap at the people.
Yeah.
That are around, if it's a husband or a wife or children,
that's the next stage.
Or close friend or some that time will come when you don't want to be bothered with them. You don't want them saying anything would set you off to trigger something about the person that you or the thing that you're grieving about.
And you should always seek counseling. That is so important.
Yeah.
I had to seek counseling for myself. We didn't get to that one day about oppression.
Yeah.
But I actually was in denial that, like I said about my mom, and my mom was like Mother Rita, Mother Belly, and her mother. We were very, very close spiritually, and it's 8 girls, and they thought I was their home pet, but I wasn't. It was that we had such a bond spiritually, and by me preaching her eulogy, and then I'm the 5th daughter, but everybody now, everybody pulled on me. So like for years, I was still like in that state. So there were stages of grief that I was going through before I got to the point, Bernetta, where I would like isolate myself when I get home, and I would isolate myself, and I would sit, I would go to bed, I'd take a shower, go to bed. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do anything. That put me in a state of oppression where I knew, that when you're saved, you need some help. Now, someone who's not saved, guess what they do? They turn to other things like alcohol, drugs, loving with the wrong person, sex, all of that stuff to remove that pain. But what we do is, as Christians, we turn to like, okay, I need some counseling. So I had to actually get counseling. In the midst, before I got counseling, guess what God says? I want you to start a grief counseling. That's how the grief counseling came about with the First Cathedral up under the counseling center. So anytime you get to a point where you feel that, you know what, this is too overwhelming for me, then it's time to seek counseling.
Yeah. And not be ashamed.
Not be ashamed.
Because so many people, especially if you're a Christian, you thinking that you afraid that people going to think that something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
Really, it's not, and that's the best thing that could happen. Even we have our baby TC, and her husband said when they got married, they made a promise that they would have counseling at least once a year.
Yes.
And that's what keeps the love going, and stuff like that. And even with that, some people, they just won't go. They know that they're having a few problems, but still they don't want nobody to think that they don't have it together.
Yeah.
But
that was my question, because even I remember when my godfather passed away, Billy Power. And he was a tremendous man, made a major impact, I believe, in my life. And I think that was the first time that I probably really felt grief over individual. But I didn't realize, I think even after that, my attitude was kind of changed, or my behaviors were changed a little bit. But I didn't realize that I was going through a grieving process. And so how do people know that they're grieving, or how or do all people grieve in different ways, or how does that work?
I was just listening to you, and I was thinking, even with that, sometimes you don't really know that you are grieving. At the time, you know that something has changed, and you probably miss that person. And like you said, Billy was a strong man, and he was just so unconcerned, like, and he could give you an answer of just talking to you. And now, boy, and such and such. Now you got to do this. The Bible said such and such thing. But he wouldn't bring you down. He wouldn't beat you down. And something like that. And so I can understand why he would be grieving about him, because Billy really had a strong relationship with young people and that kind of thing.
Another way you can tell why you grieve, how you grieve, because sometimes if you could just see the person, say his picture was up on that wall, and you see that picture, and all of a sudden you get so sad, and you start crying, and you don't know what to do. That's grief. That's a form of grief. And then somebody say, "What's the matter?" Nothing. I'm all right. But that's what you holding it in. That's what I did. You suppress it and you hold it in, and that's not good.
And especially even like myself, I'm kind of a loner. And that can easily happen to you, and things like that. I have to really, really watch, because I would become like a workaholic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when something hit me, then I make sure that I got to do everything. I got to get everything in order and stuff like that. But I never really thought about it as grief until you just said that to me, that, sometimes I can be thinking about, different things or different people.
Yeah.
And it's really a form of grief.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, we just don't know until maybe there's a conversation, and then maybe we should have, more of this in general to see, about what's going on in your life. And sometimes I know one thing that I have found out from different people, that a lot of young women and men go through this when they are I say when they've had a relationship and had sex and they end up being a child, and then they have an abortion.
Yeah.
And I know women right now who cry sometimes because they're wondering what would that child would have become if they had kept a child. That's another deep every day. I've had to really talk with people, but I didn't really know how they felt because I've never been through that. I've never had never had an abortion. But I thank God that He has given me the strength to just hug them or something to let them know it's okay. We all make mistakes.
That's right.
And it might not been that, but it could be something else that we have done. You can even tell a lie on somebody, and it was a lie, and you don't know how to go to the person to say I talked about you. We grieve in so many ways and different things.
Yeah, I was just saying, thinking, especially what's going on with, like we was talking about, deaths are almost up on the rise.
Yeah,
what's going on?
Yeah.
How do people not fall into a depression or a slump in terms of their lives when dealing with so much death around?
Wow.
Well, what I would do, and this is what Mrs. Sutherland teach too in a grief counseling session, you need to actually talk to someone. Sometimes you need to seek out group sessions to keep from falling into a depression or oppression. You need to actually talk with someone, and then the person who you talk to have to be actually a good, even I'm talking to someone who's actually have someone that they're talking to.
Right.
You have to not only hear, you have to listen to that person. Because hearing, you just taking information. You're taking information for what purpose that you're going to use it for, or whatever, or to help them. But when you're listening with your eyes. And a lot of people say I talk with my eyes because I look right at you when I'm talking. I don't take my eyes off. But you talk with your eyes. You talk with your heart.
Yeah.
You talk with your eyes and your heart, and you listening within your spirit, in your mind, because you want to actually help that person. And to actually, the way I got over of that oppression, I released everything that was in me and was not ashamed to release it. Whatever it was, I released it. Right. Even with my husband, whatever it was, I used to blame him for leaving me because I didn't cook. Right? And I'm like, I got food in the refrigerator, in the freezer. I go to the church. Instead of me going and asking Mr. Dudley to give me something to eat, I go home, leave the table where you are, and go home. And I'm like, I ain't got no dinner. And I'm crying. Why you leave me down here like this? You know you've been cooking. Every time something breaks, why you leave me down here? I can't fix this. You should have fixed it before you left. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? But what I would do, I would call Miss Debbie Sutherland, because I had already gone through, at that time, going through counseling, other professional counseling. I would call her and she would counsel me every time, and I would get over it, and she would give me some tough love. She didn't play with me. regardless of that. Look, Dr. Roberts don't mean nothing when you're going through counseling. Your name is Ernestine Roberts.
Yeah.
So this is how you actually get over it. Do not isolate yourself. Do not suppress it. You need to actually talk about it. Get with the group. Don't be ashamed to share.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't want them to know this. I don't want them to know that. And sometimes we have had an argument with our husbands before they died. I've had people like that.
Oh,
You have had arguments with your sister, your friend, whoever.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you haven't talked to them in a while and they dead.
Yeah.
What do you do to get over that? We'll talk about that.
Talk about that. No, you know,
I'm talking too much.
No, you're not talking too much. But I was sitting here thinking, you know, it's so often like you said, you didn't know that Freeman was gonna pass.
Mm-mm.
And so often, like with grandma, I think it's a little different because you know she was older. She was so mentally, we was kind of prepared for it. When you're not prepared for that, you know, how do you cope with that? Because you didn't get your final closure or your final, you know, words together, or you know, you didn't get to see them, or you didn't get to really tell them how you felt. You know, how do you deal with that?
Okay. Well, going through grief counseling with another professional counselor, I was taught and I learned that things that I didn't say. Of course, I had a chance to talk to my husband before he passed, but it wasn't about things that I really might wanted to say. So what I did is I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter. Everything that I wanted to say, that I didn't say, that I thought I wanted to say years ago, and things that came in my mind to say. It might have been a 10-page letter. It was long, all I know. I was crying, but I wrote the letter, and I was like, no, you're going to get this letter, because I'm going to tell you something. I don't know whether you all believe in angels, but I believe that the angels going to take my letter. So, I wrote that letter. I had a Christian counselor. And I wrote that letter, that long letter. And I said, okay, Lord, I'm releasing this to you. Now, he ain't coming back down here. We'll talk about that too. But I'm releasing this to you. Everything I ever wanted him to say. And I just know my angel. I know my angel has this. And my angel's going to take this. And my husband's, you know, I mean, I know that everything's glorified. But guess what it did? It set me free.
Yeah.
It set me free from everything that I might have had in the back of my mind. Like, I wonder, maybe I never did get over something. And I'm just going to go. I mean, I'm a realistic person when I'm teaching or when I'm talking. I don't have no secrets. No, you know, no hidden secrets. I mean, I'm not saying I don't have any secrets, but something that I can't share. Say, for instance, my husband took out a loan or something. I didn't know nothing about it. I'm just saying. And then I found out about it later. Now, he's still living. And I'm like, why you didn't tell me about the loan? Well, I was trying to help this person. But you don't do that. You should have told. So I never put closure to it. So I had to write that in the letter. Everything that I had not put closure to, I forgive you for doing that, co-signing. That I didn't know about. Because if something hadn't happened, the person had to pay it, then I would have had to pay it. Somebody had to pay it. So you understand what I'm saying? So this is how you get over. You got to release yourself from stuff.
Okay. No, that's good. And I was sitting here thinking about it's sometimes the little things that we can do, like the letter. And put in, you know, what we feel and putting those emotions into the letter. And you know, it's funny, the vision of just putting that letter on a balloon. Letting it just float up, just kind of came to me. But you know, doing little stuff like that to, you know, kind of release your emotions and allow you to move on. I think it's different for every person. You really have to kind of go through that counseling to see what you need to do to release. But at the end of the day, we know that prayer, you know, seeking God and depending on Him and asking Him for release and joy and really living off of the positive memories that person and you had helps with the whole grief process. And you know, I think we can't just kind of stumble over that. But you mentioned something interesting about, and you said we'll talk about is, you know, because sometimes we get so selfish where we want those people to come back.
That's where I was with my brother.
Yeah.
I said, he got to come back.
And what you said was so true. Why y'all want me? I'm with Jesus. I'm with Jesus. So you can talk about
Yeah,
that.
because some people actually seek fortune tellers or
Yeah.
mediums
To
now
pull
them back and
Yeah.
talk to them. Oh yeah, I don't have to worry about this because my husband slept with me last night. No, he didn't. That was a familiar spirit
Yes.
that slept with you that night, and that familiar spirit is the enemy.
Yeah.
He comes in disguise, and I had that to happen. I wasn't asleep. I was going to sleep, and I heard somebody say, "Babe." That's Freeman, babe, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking, and I looked down the stairs. At that time, I was sleeping with every light on in the house. I looked down the stairs, and I actually saw a shadow of him in the gray robe that he wore when he was very ill. Now, if I wasn't saved, either the devil would have had me to entertain it, or I would have been saying, "Oh, I saw my husband. He's in here." People say that.
Yeah.
You know what I said immediately? Devil, my husband's in a glorified body. He would not come back here sick. So you get out of my house now. I took the alarm off my door, opened up my door, and said, "Get out of here." The spirit of fear would not creep up on me in the name of Jesus. And I slammed that door back, put my alarm on. I ain't had none since.
Yeah.
I had never had. But people do that. They pray their loved ones back. They have other people to pray they love. Well, guess what happens? Demons enter into your home. They torment you. So you begin to have tormenting demons. Because guess what they're doing? You hear the voice. You hear pots and pans. I hear people say, "You know what? My husband was down there and he always loved coffee. I heard him making coffee." No, you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't make no coffee. That was the devil.
Yeah.
So don't ever believe that your loved one can come back, or your loved one can talk to you, or your loved one could do this, because your loved one is in a glorified body. Only people do that who are not saved, and they are taught to believe in witches and warlocks and mediums and all of that. That's a sin.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Saul. Go back and look at 2 Samuel.
Yeah.
1 Samuel, the 26th chapter. And you can read about Saul and how he wanted to bring Samuel back from the dead.
That's
Wow.
good.
Okay?
That's good.
All right.
So there was a question that came across. Let's see if I can pull it up. It says from Judy, "Do you believe it is important to remove your loved one's clothing? If so, how soon?"
Well, I guess I can answer that too. It's hard. It depends. Like, people grieve in different stages. People grieve differently. Some people like to hold on to their husband's clothes. And I'm gonna tell you, I've heard some stories where I paid too much. He paid too much money for this. I ain't giving this to nobody. So they hang on to the coats, the minks, the hats, the shoes. I'm serious. It ain't got nothing to do with no grief. It's got to do with money. Okay, families argue. I've seen families argue because of the fact that they don't want. No, you're not getting this. This costs $2,000. What you gonna do with that? That's family stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why it's goodwill, ladies, to have a will.
Yeah.
Men to have a will.
Yeah.
All right. So my situation was I had to get rid of my husband's clothing. I had to get rid of all of it because everything reminded me of him. It smelled like him. Freeman had a lot of things that I had put in the cleaners because, like him, he was sick and everything. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to take all of his clothes. I put them in different piles. They was in the cleaners. I had to get them all out the cleaners. But when I got them out the cleaners, I put them back in the closet. And I began to grieve all over. I saw that cycle coming back. And I said, I can't go backwards. So I began to, and I'll tell you, thank you, Jesus, for bringing this back to me. Freeman told me before he passed what to do with majority of his clothing. Wow. He told me to get Lord all his shoes, because Lord took him to New York to buy his shoes. He didn't buy shoes from Connecticut. He told me to give Buster Jenkins all his shirts that come right here with the color bandman shirts with the buttons. He told me to give the coats to what's his name? The one who used to work at the church, the person that draw in media, not media, in marketing. Anyway,
Rodney?
Yeah, Rodney. His coats, things like that. He told me what to do with his stuff. So really, I held on to one thing, and I got him on my finger. I gave away everything that he told me to do, and for his daughters, they whatever they wanted. I gave my son his leather coat, things like that. Some people just hold on to things, and because they selfish.
Mm.
Yeah.
They selfish. Some things, I'm telling you, the hardest thing that I did do was when I gave the rest of his clothes that were too large to Glory Chapel. I took McGill's brother, I guess, from Glory Chapel. And when I brought him to the church, when he closed that trunk, I looked at it. It was like I visualized a casket being closed. I ran through the church screaming. I think Mother was at the top of the Cal Hudson. I ran through the church screaming. I ran. Dr. Jones was behind me. And that was closure, really. I thought it was closure. But the closure was these on my finger. I was beginning to idolize my rings. Ladies and gentlemen, do not idolize your loved one's stuff, because when it becomes an idol, it's sin. Every time I would leave my ring at home, I could have a counseling session waiting. I would say, Mary, I'll be right there. I run back home, turn my car around, go back home and get my rings. My ring on this finger. I would go to Detroit. I would grieve the whole time I'm there because I left my ring. I have missed my plane because I left my ring. So one dream I had, and I'm gonna hurry up. One dream I had was I had this dream. I was in the house. Freeman was working in New York. He didn't come home one week. Then the next week he didn't come home. And I told Lisa, we're gonna get in the car and go and find out what's going on. We went to New York. We opened the door. Freeman loves a country kitchen. So his house was more country, but he had these 3 poodles, beautiful poodles with pink bows. And I'm screaming and hollering, why you never coming home? I'm beating him in his chest. And he's just sitting there looking at me. And I should have known it was supernatural dream because he was younger. And I beat him in his chest. And I'm like, you're not never coming back. And he said, no, I'm never coming back. And I'm like, you're never coming back. And I said, Lisa, let's go. He ain't coming. I said, you got somebody else? He said, yeah, I got somebody else. So I came home. When I came home, I woke up. Now, let me tell you, I actually woke up beating my pillow. This is true. I was beating my pillow like this. So guess what he said? I heard the voice of the Lord, and I thought it was Freeman's voice, but he said, you have to release him. Take the ring off.
Wow.
And I'm like, I can't take. He said, take the ring off. And then I heard another voice says, and don't go to Nordstrom's and buy another one. Guess what happened? I got something in the mail, looked at it the next day, and I'm like, what am I going to do with my ring?
Yeah.
And so the next day, there was Hosberg where we bought the ring from. And so I went there. They were taking diamonds and they were putting whatever your necklaces you have together. And I went in there and I said, I came to get my ring clean. And she was like, oh, you came to get this clean? It was just like the Lord had prepared him. The owner said, you came to get this clean. He said, don't you want to change this? Is this your wedding band? I'm like, yes. He said, don't you want to change this? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, yeah, can you do it? He said, sure, I can do it. They had all the things. Guess what they did? They put my children's birthstones right here. They put my marquee right here. They put my birthstone right here. And right here is my wedding band with my birthstone, the top of it right here, my kids' birthstones. And guess what? I don't care if I don't have this on. I don't care if I don't have this on. God released me from being I prayed and asked for forgiveness forever because I made an idol out of my ring. That's what I held on to. So whatever you're holding on to, get rid of it because it's an idol.
Wow.
Okay.
That's good.
That's
good. But you brought up a point and about even family. And you kind of ran over it because I'm not gonna say I noticed, but sometimes I noticed that some families during the death process, the grieving process, they end up becoming almost enemies of each other.
Yeah, they do.
And you know, and I guess the question is, what is the best way to keep your family intact, to hold on to each other, and to make this grieving process easier, not to make enemies, but to come together as a family and support one another.
You have to have a strong person out of all of them to do that, who who has more Christ in them to be able to tell them, because they will begin to blame each other for different things.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen so many times. And like you said, they almost fist fight, even at the funeral.
Yeah.
And you see them holler, cry. You see them when they come in for the funeral. One want to sit here, the other one don't want to sit close to that one because they've had an argument about. Mama told me that she was gonna leave me that. Daddy said I could have that, and that's what they really be arguing over. About stuff like that, and you'll find people today still not speaking to each other because of some things like that. So I would urge everybody, before you leave here, you write down what needs to go to this person and what needs to go to that person, so you will not leave your family in some kind of hateful stage of each other. And that's my way of telling you that you really need to solve that problem, and then you will find out later on why was that so important. And then I found out that some people, even if you're leaving money, expensive jewelry or something like that, it needs to be, you need a will.
That's right.
You really need a will to put all this in. I want this. It has to be divided equally. And then the extra stuff like jewelry and clothing that you're talking about, you need to write that down. Where you want this to go. If you want some to go to your children, let them pick it out first.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And the rest of it, you get rid of it.
That's right.
And even with us, one day, my sisters and I went to my other sister's house just to where she would not have to be burdened and go through all of that, because my mama stayed with her. We made it a point to go there and clean out as much as we could, so that she would not have to deal with that, because everything that she sees it reminds her of a mama. And that would be not only for her, but that would be for any of us, because of our relationship with our mom. And so that was a real blessing to us. I mean, it didn't take us long. We accomplished what we went to do, and so we're happy about it.
That's
really
a blessing. That's a blessing. Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. So there was one more question. We're almost out of time here. It says, "Good morning, everyone. It's almost 4 years since my husband passed away. It's close to Christmas time. I find myself just sad and withdrawn on holidays because I remember how much we celebrated with friends and family. How should I handle this?"
I don't really know what to say. That might be something that they have to. I know probably what I would do. I would be would like to be around my family,
That's
my
right.
kids, or my sisters and brothers, or something like the aunts and uncles, that kind of thing. But everybody doesn't have a relationship with their family, like I do. But I think if you would surround yourself with, a family, but still, yet I don't know the type of family that you have, and it could be that you and your husband was so happy together, and then you will find sometimes, even in the midst of this, I'm gonna say this: sometimes family, if you and your husband had a good relationship, you all did wonderful things together. And there are sometimes where other family members are not happy about that. So even if you come around some family members still, they still are not happy about the relationship like the two of you had, like Reverend Roberts talks about what she had. And they're not happy about that because they have not had that. So either you ask. I really would ask God to show me what should I do to give me joy. And sometimes even the Lord will put a friend in your life to help you get over. It's not that you're looking for somebody else to date or remarry, but sometimes the Lord will put people in your life just to talk to, and that kind of thing. And it would eventually work out where you would be happy about what would happen at this particular time around Christmas time or Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I was gonna say, with it being 4 years, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of time to be kind of grieving still. And so they definitely need to talk to God
Yeah.
and ask God to release that grief and to bring that joy back in.
Yeah.
I agree, Ma. You kind of want to surround yourself around positive people,
Right.
people
Right.
that's going to encourage you, people that's going to even help you through the process, that's not going to take advantage of your emotions or your feelings, but actually enhance it, put the word back in you, and give you strength to move on and make yourself stronger.
Right.
So you got to look for those outlets where you're not alone in this situation.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who have had loved ones pass away.
Right.
It might not be their husband or their significant ones, but it's their mothers and even children. They can help you through that process and get through that.
That's what I do. My husband passed away, it'll be 5 years in November, and every holiday it was rough for me the first couple of years, but I have family who I talk to all the time, a long distance, and my family is not here. I'm the only one here, and my family's all long distance. So I have a church family who's my family. So the best thing to do, or what I would do, what I do, is on the holidays, birthdays, whatever it is, I don't allow myself to get isolated within myself, within my home. What I do on that day, I would actually, it's pandemic now, so you can't do what I used to do. On Freeman's birthday, I go to the mall. I go treat myself. Now, I had to learn how to do this because he loved Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
You know what I learned to do? And it was hard for me to do. I would go to Cracker Barrel now by myself. And I would sit and eat. I don't look for him. I just do things that I knew that we did together that was happy. If it was a song that I like, I would play that. That helps me. In different ways it helps people. But if you hold on to the grief, that's going to put you backwards. And you're going to find yourself always isolated with there's no hope in the world. I'm the only one sad. So try to kind of just, like Mother said, surround yourself with people who love you. And people who are going to encourage you. Don't surround yourself with any negative people. Oh, baby, I know how you feel. Now you don't, because you never lost a husband.
That's right.
Surround yourself with positive people.
Yeah.
And another thing, make sure you got a prayer warrior.
Yeah.
That's next. That's the first thing.
Amen.
Call your prayer warrior and pray first. And trust me, you'll get past it.
Well, I just want to thank y'all. Our hour is up. And this has been another great conversation. I have my mother's here with me every fourth weekend. She always forget though. Every fourth Thursday. So make sure you join us. But we are here every single Thursday at 11 a.m. talking about subjects that will make you stronger and better. So please join us. You'll see at the bottom of the screen my YouTube channel. So go back, look at some of the previous conversations that we've had, and please hit the subscribe button. You'll see it in the link also. So thank you for joining us for another session of Stronger and Better. We love you. I love y'all. And thank y'all.
We love y'all.
Appreciate y'all. And y'all be safe out there.
Love you too.
Love you.